Welcome to We Are the Plan podcast. We are a circle of women creating long-term health, strength, confidence, peace, power, and connection. I'm your host, Caroline Dunn, a personal trainer, nutrition coach, and yoga teacher, and a geek obsessed with learning how to live the biggest, fullest, most joyful life. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. And we're really excited to have Naomi Procter here with us today. So I'm going to leave Naomi to kind of say mostly everything about what she does. But Naomi is an emotional freedom technique level 2 practitioner, otherwise known as tapping. So we're really going to dive into what all that is about today. So welcome, Naomi.
Hello, Caroline, and thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Me too. Now we're going to share 3 words about how we're feeling, kind of rather than just, yeah, fine. We want to really just own how we're feeling. So it's only fair. It's my question. I'll go first. So I'm excited. There's definitely some buzzing feelings there, hopeful and also nervous. This is one of the first podcast interviews I'm doing as well. So putting that out there, there's some nervousness too. How about you?
Well, I'm very honoured that I am one of the first podcast episodes. So thank you, Caroline. I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm feeling really excited. I feel a little bit nervous myself. I think this is my first podcast ever. So first all around. And yeah, I feel very insightful. I feel good. I feel like, yeah, I'm flowing. I'm vibing. That's it.
I love that. And I love when we feel nervous, often I try and reframe that because you can kind of get lost in the butterflies. I think it shows that we care and we're excited about what we do. We have purpose. And then someone also said to me, we experience excitement and nervousness or anxiety is the same. So it's quite nice to kind of reframe that a bit more like, oh yeah, this is a good forward feeling too.
100%. So nervousness and excitement have the same bodily, physical ailments. It depends whether your mind chooses whether it's nervousness or excitement. So yeah little fun fact there. Yeah.
So both. Now we're going to dive straight into the juicy stuff, Naomi. Okay.
Yes.
This question is probably the most interesting for me out of all of them. So Naomi, what's your story? I'd love to know just where you started, where you came from, what your journey's been like, and kind of how you've ended up doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, what a roller coaster. So I wanted for a very long, since I was tiny, I wanted to be a singer and actor. That was my thing. Absolutely loved it. Obviously singing makes you feel really good. It's actually a good tool to do if you are feeling low, actually, to sing. Doesn't matter if you can't sing, just honestly give it a belt. You'll feel so much better. Honestly, it works. It's great. And yeah, absolutely loved it. And I think why I loved it so much is because I think on a selfish level, I wanted approval of others. I think that was a very selfish level on why I wanted to go into sort of the performing industry. But also, I wanted to make people happy. I wanted people to watch me in a play or in a show or in a TV series or something and just forget their troubles and just watch me and go, oh, do you know what? That was hilarious. So I wanted to be a comical actor. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to make people laugh. So if that was from a very, very young age. And yeah, so as I got into this acting, something almost shifted. So I got to I think it was about 25, 26, and I really wanted to start my own business. And actually, first of all, I wanted to start my own cake decorating business. I'm very creative. And I'm one of those people where I literally want to do everything. I want to bake cakes. I want to act. I want to sing. I want to dance. I want to learn every language on the sun. It was one of those things. And I actually met someone. Now, this is the first ever person that kind of took me on this journey of self-healing. And she was incredible woman. She was one of my ex's friends. And my boyfriend at the time, he said, why don't you meet my friend? Because she has a cake decorating business and she can give you a few tips. So I go to meet this friend, and I said to her, I said, I really want to do this cake decorating business. But the thing is, like, I have all this anxiety. I have, I am so terrified of possibly having a panic attack and then not being able to do a cake for someone or something like that. And I'm just really nervous. And the thing is, like, I had very low self-esteem at the time and I had lots of panic attacks at the time. So it was really, I just didn't know how to juggle the two. So she said to me, and I tell you what, it was the best advice I'd ever heard in my life. And she said, because she herself had experienced depression, and she didn't know how to get herself out of that either. And what allowed her to get out of that was cake decorating. So her story was just beautiful in the fact that, she was in this really dark place. And then she'd baked this cake for a event. And she just, honestly, it just lit her up and she just found her purpose. And the one thing she said to me, and I'll never forget it, was, do not identify yourself with anxiety. Look at the way you're saying things, Naomi. You're saying my anxiety. I have anxiety. She goes, you're making it your identity. She said, you need to switch it and reframe it to this anxiety I'm experiencing right now. Because she said that anxiety is an emotion. It's not a part of you. It's an emotion that you feel and you let it go. And I'm not even joking. I think after I heard that, my anxiety, it was so intense. It went down by like 50% because I wasn't identifying with it anymore. And I thought that was an amazing advice to hear. So that was, yes, go on, please do.
Just ask. So like, that sounds like a big shift for you. Yeah. And was it like the relationship with the anxiety changed like that?
So obviously I still had anxiety and I still had the panic attacks. It was still happening, but it was that shift in mentality that it was like, when I'm experiencing that anxiety, I've got to remember that it's not a part of me. It's an emotion and it's something separate. Yeah. But as we'll go into the next part of the story, you'll see why that anxiety hasn't gone. So basically, it helped a lot in knowing that it wasn't a part of me and it wasn't part of my identity. But once again, I still had it and I couldn't understand why, because obviously I was like, well, it's not part of my identity, but why do I still have it constantly, And once again, it did help, but once again, still had it. So I was just like, what is going on? So I then decided to go into panto touring. So I actually auditioned for a panto tour. Pantomime, sorry, if anyone doesn't know what panto is, it's pantomime. It's like, what is a panto tour? I auditioned for one, absolutely loved it. And the person that I did the pantomime tour with, we both decided to create a business in it. And we then started touring care homes with the pantomime business. We absolutely loved it. And it was just so much fun. But something in me was like, just not quite enjoying it as much as I liked. And I just couldn't figure out, there was something in me that was just this little niggle that was like, something's not quite right. And once again, still had the anxiety. I still had the panic attacks. And I was just like, I've had enough. I've just had enough. It gets to a point where you're like, I'm so done. I so need to sort this out. And also at the time, I was living back at home, and when you live back at home, it's great because you're saving money and you're able to do a few things that you probably wouldn't be able to do, or it's easier. by the way. But you know, you feel a little bit like a failure because I was living back at home. I just had this low self-esteem. I had low confidence. I had low self-worth. I had low self-love, just everything. And I couldn't understand, no matter how hard I tried to be successful, no matter how hard I tried to love myself, no matter how hard I tried to be self-confident, nothing happened, nothing worked. You know, the only thing that worked for a very brief moment was one, remembering to not identify myself with it and to remember that reframe, but also going to the gym and just taking off that sort of anxious energy and using that through exercise, which then ties in with you, Caroline, which is awesome. And it just made me feel so much better. And I'm not even joking, it was just such a relief. But it only lasted an hour after. This calm sensation only lasted an hour. I just thought, what am I doing wrong? What is going on? And so there was one day when I just decided that, you know, I'm going to go and get myself a therapy session and just see, maybe it's something in that sort of realm or that sort of place where I need to find out where this anxiety is coming from, and maybe that might help relieve it in some way. Anyway, I did a therapy session and it was great. I couldn't believe, like, it was so weird because I had the therapy session. Then after the therapy session, I went to the beach and I just cried my eyes out. And it was something that I just needed. And I felt so good afterwards. But the thing about it was that for some reason, I didn't go back. Once again, couldn't understand why, because this was something that but it just didn't quite hit the nail for me. So anyway, long story short, the gym was my favorite place to be. It was my joy. It was my love. And for some reason, like, the one place that I just absolutely loved and I could just literally just be in that sort of spiritual mindset was weirdly the steam room. Because with the steam room, it kind of almost like forces you to go internally, because with the steam, you kind of like almost struggle to breathe because you're getting in all that steam within you. So it's kind of almost like you have to go with it. I know it sounds really weird. Maybe that's me in the steam room. I don't know, but
it's like forces you to be in the moment, doesn't it? Yes. Because you have to literally like put in some effort or pay some attention to the inhale and being able to breathe out. Yeah.
100%. Yes, that's exactly it. And I overheard someone in there talking about tapping, and she was talking to someone about it and explaining it. Now, I kind of knew a little bit about tapping from my mum, who had qualified as an EFT practitioner, but it didn't really, once again, it wasn't the right time. It didn't really resonate with me at that time. But something in that steam room was like, I need to listen to this woman. And so I kind of interrupted the conversation and I said, oh, EFT, is that all the tapping and stuff? And she goes, yeah, it's all about the tapping. And I'm not even joking. I spoke to this, I mean, we were prunes by the end of it. Well, there's stop
I can just imagine it.
We were in there for about a good like 20 minutes, half an hour in a steam room. You know what that can look like. You look like a prune when you come back out. But she just, honestly, the way she was speaking about it, the stories she was telling me about how people had gone from one thing to another, like, they had healed and released physical pain, like back pain, migraines. She was telling me that people had, healed and released PTSD, trauma, how people had gone from, living a very mediocre life that they weren't happy with, to all of a sudden you know, being in their element and being in their power and going after what, you know, they want to do. And I just was absolutely mind blown that this little tapping technique could change people's lives. And anyway, she said to me, she said, oh, I'm doing a course. Would you be interested in joining? And I was like, yeah. Yes, please sign me up. Because what I loved about it, about EFT, and I loved about tapping, is not only could you work with an EFT practitioner, but whilst you're out, you know, whilst you haven't got that session, you can work in between those sessions on yourself. I thought, wow, this is incredible. Like, this is such an incredible tool. So anyway, I went to go to this course, and the first day, honestly, Caroline, I've never experienced anything like it. It just honestly changed my life. So basically, the first session I had with her was, so basically I had like you know, low self-esteem, terrible anxiety, and obviously panic attacks. Now with EFT, I'm working with an EFT practitioner. There's a technique called chasing the pain. And what that entails is taking either an emotion, a limiting belief, trauma, all that kind of jazz, and sort of chasing it around the body. Sounds a bit bizarre, but bear with me. I'll give you an example. So she took this anxiety, and it was I think it was all over the place. It was going here, and then all of a sudden it was in my left shoulder, and then all of a sudden it was in my left, you know, leg, and all this jazz. Anyway, she got it to a point where it was in my stomach, and she said, are you ready to let go? Now, the reason why it was such a struggle to let go was because I'd had this for so long. I've had anxiety for most of my life. You know, it, once again, because it was a part of me and part of my identity, that's why once again I struggled to reframe it into not being my identity, because I'd had it for so long. So that's why I was like, oh, that makes sense why I'm struggling to try and reframe it out of not being my identity.
It was like your mind had made the separation between it and who you are and the anxiety, but your body hadn't. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. So my brain was like, this isn't a part of me, but somehow I was still experiencing it. Yeah. You perfectly nailed it on the head there. Yeah. And I want people to imagine, so why it was so scary to let go of this anxiety was because I imagined this cave, and there was a rock in front of this cave. And my anxiety and my low self-esteem was the rock covering this cave. And I wasn't ready to look what was in that cave. That cave was dark. That was deep. You know, I didn't want to go there.
Who knows what was in it? Yeah.
I have no idea what was in it. Exactly. So I was so petrified. But the one thing that allowed me to let it go was like, something in me went, Naomi, do you want to live the rest of your life like this? Do you want to live the rest of your life living in anxiety? Something in me was went, it's now or never, Naomi. So I allowed her to allow me to let it go. And this is the great thing about having an EFT practitioner, because they allow you to feel safe in that moment, because that was a big moment for me. Like, I couldn't have done that on my own. Anyway, we let it go, and I'm not even joking. I was physically holding on to furniture. I was that terrified of what was in that cave. I was like, I don't know what's in that cave. I am freaking out. So anyway, go home. The next morning, Caroline, I'm not even joking, I had this surge of anger from head to toe, and I'd never, ever experienced anger like it. And I'm not even joking, on the way to the course, I was effing and blinding. I was saying every swear word under the sun. I was just angry. And I obviously went back to the course, and she said, "Oh, so how are you, Naomi? How's it going?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm really angry. I'm really, really angry." She goes, "Oh, okay. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being really angry and 0 being not angry at all, where do you place yourself on the scale?" And I was like, 11. She was like, "Okay, right, let's sort that out." And yeah, so we did Chasing the Pain again. She took this anger. It ended up being in the gallbladder, and it ended up being this jelly-like substance that was just fizzing away. And this is the thing about EFT as well. You don't have to, you don't have to go back to a time when it first started. You don't have to do that. You can just basically take this. I mean, this anger, I realized, was in me for so long. I suppressed it, and I'd stuffed it down for so long, because I did have childhood trauma, and the childhood trauma went on for a very long time, 10 years plus. And every time it happened, this anger would be stuffed down because I didn't want to feel it, and it's, and also as women as well, it's an emotion that we're not allowed to feel, know.
I was literally just feeling that anger isn't an acceptable emotion. Nice, polite, kind, warm, yes, but anger, no, lock it away. And I'm not surprised that it's almost like the first unlocking or unrolling of the stone is that anger that then led somewhere else, because that anger like folds into something else deeper, right? The gallbladder, the physics. So what was next?
Okay, so so it ended up in the gallbladder. And what's interesting as well, in a side note, is that each organ has an emotion attached to it. And my EFT practitioner, she said the gallbladder is attached to anger. So it's really interesting how that ended up being in that particular organ. But anyway, so that was a side note. But yeah, so basically what happened next is, oh my goodness, when the new energy integrated within me, when I had let go of that anger, I had let go of that anxiety. Oh my goodness, my whole life changed. I literally was so much more confident in myself. I had more self-esteem than I'd ever had in my life. Panic attacks, non-existent. I've not had one since.
Wow.
And I just said to myself, I have to be an EFT practitioner. There's no way that I can be anything else. Like, this is my path. Because if that was just 2 sessions, that was 2 hours. She had let go of 10 years plus of anger stuffed within me in 1 hour. Like,
it's incredible.
How, if I knew this, I would have done this ages ago, right? I would have done this ages ago. But I can't say that to myself, because I know that this journey, we go through this journey, and the things that we go through, and I don't know if you agree, I don't know if you agree with this, Caroline, but I do solely believe that when we're ready, and therefore we receive and attract it. And I think at that moment, I was ready to, receive that and receive that healing.
And I think that really shows in your journey, because when you accessed the therapy session, it was a catharsis, wasn't it? It was a release of emotions, but the not going back is quite telling, isn't it? That you weren't ready, and that does only come when you are strong enough within yourself to be able to then release, the next part. The other part I found fascinating there is that all of these tools, like the gym, the movement, the therapy, and then EFT, they're all different tools that all play a different role at an important time in your life. but they kind of stitch together into your whole journey, you know?
Yeah.
It's like there's the right tool for that season, and then it evolves and it's something else that you then need.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because I'd never experienced what relaxing actually was for a very long time. I'd never experienced what chill actually meant, you know? And then through the gym and through exercise, I was like, okay, that's what relaxing feels like. But I think with a lot of people as well, is that when we relax and chill, something feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because if you've been in anxiety, or if you've been in that anxious state for a very long time, when you relax, you're like, something's wrong.
It feels
something's
dangerous,
up.
doesn't it?
It does.
It's so unfamiliar.
It really does. And I think also, as you know, with my childhood trauma, I think when you had that relaxing state, something happened, and therefore you were back in that anxious state. So it's almost like that thing of like, okay, I'm chill and I'm relaxed, which means something bad's going to happen to get me back into that anxious state. So yeah, 100% Caroline, 100%. But yeah, it was just, yeah. And I think, you know, once again, because it's that level, isn't it? It's just like, okay, I don't feel quite comfortable with the relaxing just yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the gym like once a week, get back into that relaxing state, get used to it. And then maybe that was then the time to be like, okay, I'm ready for the next level.
Unlocks the next door. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the thing that I also found so fascinating about EFT is that, as you say, it focuses on like the current sensations that you have now within your body, etc., without that necessarily needing to dive into the, you know, intricacies or stories from the past. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about what actually EFT is. Like, what does a session look like? What is it based on? How do we do it to work with these things that we currently might be feeling?
Yeah, of course. So EFT stands for the Emotional Freedom Technique. It is a technique that was stemmed from acupuncture. So it works with the acupressure points, or some of the acupressure points, just without the needles. So it has the same effect. It has the same calming, relaxing effect. So you could just tap for 3 to 5 minutes and already feel calm and relaxed. It's such an incredible tool. And all you have to do is tap on several parts of your body. Do you know what I mean? It's just so powerful. I'd say how it works. So that I feel like the way to describe this is through different levels. So the surface level, which pretty much everyone knows, if you're just a little bit introduced to EFT and tapping, it's very much about, you know, relieving stress, relieving anxiety, relieving doubt, right? So it makes you feel calm and relaxed. That's kind of the surface level. That's where everyone kind of knows it or is known for. I'd say the second level is then exploring emotions. So, you know, for example, you know, anger, anxiety, you can literally explore any emotion that comes up. It's so incredible. And once again, you don't have to go back to the past. You don't have to, you know, you can just, you know, work on that emotion there and then, which is incredible. And the thing is as well is it just, once again, it heals and releases it. And also what's great about it as well is if you don't know what you're feeling, if you can't label, because I know quite a few people do struggle with labeling their emotions. What's great about EFT is you don't have to do that. You can just say there's like this tight pressure in my stomach, or there's a tightness in my left shoulder. You know, you don't have to actually. And, you know, I've had clients where they've struggled to name their emotions, but they said that, you know, Naomi, EFT is so great because I don't have to name it. I can just explore what's going on in the body, you know? It's just, incredible. And then I guess the next level would be then going into the past, connecting with your inner child. So I'd say that that's more like the third deeper level. So yeah, I feel that there's 3 levels to it. But you know, and I would suggest highly to hire an EFT practitioner, especially if it's, you know, your first time or in exploring all of this, about the emotional side. And then I highly recommend one-on-one with an EFT practitioner on more of the inner child work, because that can be quite deep work.
And you want to be in a safe space with someone for that.
Exactly. And you want to feel safe. You want to have that guide to help guide you into that as well. So but on, you know, level 1, you can tap on anything. You can tap on affirmations, you can tap, it's just an incredible tool. And how it works on a scientific level, it's all to do with acupressures and acupuncture. So go and read that up. It's fascinating stuff. But on an energetic level, it's very much healing and releasing energetic blocks. So the way in which my EFT practitioners sort of teach EFT is the fact that we all have this energetic flow within us. And there will be times where the energetic flow doesn't quite flow as frequently, which becomes an energetic block. So if you think about your body as like a pipeline, right? You're gonna want a smooth pipe to, like, you know, put that water through or something. I know it's a really bad example, but you know, when you put water through a pipe, it flows through, right? But when there's a block, the water doesn't flow through as well. And this is where we start to feel either tight in certain places, pressure in certain places. You'll know if you have an energetic block, because that's how you'll feel.
Stuck in an emotion or in a story.
Exactly. In a limiting belief. And so what EFT does is it just takes that block and starts unblocking it. That's what it does. So it's just powerful. Really powerful.
Well, we're going to perhaps experience this a little bit together. So tapping with your fingertips on parts of your body. And we'll kind of look at how we might do that in a very gentle kind of introductory way. Absolutely.
Of course.
So Naomi, I'd love for you to lead us through like a little couple of minutes of this. And if you are going to follow along with us on the podcast or on YouTube, please make sure like you're in a safe space. And if it does get overwhelming, please just stop, look after yourself, and take whatever steps that you need to be okay. Okay. So Naomi, can you show us? Can you lead us through a little something?
Yeah, of course. I'll just elaborate a little bit on that. If it does feel overwhelming, you can stop and just take deep breaths in, deep breaths out. But what you can do as well is, if it becomes overwhelming, just tap without saying anything, because that's another calming release. But yeah, just either way, just make sure you're looking after yourself and you are taking full responsibility for your own health and your actions. And also please consult a doctor or medical advice if you need to. So, okay, so how do we go through? So what we'll do is, I've got my notes here. Let me see where I am. There's my notes. Right. So what the first thing we can do. So I want to just show you the simple technique of EFT that you can do for 2 to 3 minutes a day to help you relax and calm down. And then what I can do then is just teach you a little bit of a routine that we can go through, which will really help. So first of all, if you just want to tap 2 to 3 minutes, just get used to EFT. The first thing you want to do is start tapping on the eyebrow, and then tapping the side of the head, and then tapping under the eye. And also tapping under the eye is great for relieving anxiety as well. It's a really good one. And then under the nose, and then the chin, the collarbone, and then side of the rib. So it's just about this way. Don't go too down. Don't go near the stomach area. It's more the side of the rib and slightly under the armpit. So that's where you need to be. So, and then the top of the head. And then you repeat this sequence again and again until you feel calm and relaxed. I will say that you may not feel calm and relaxed the first time, but when your body gets used to it, it will start to go, oh, okay, we're tapping. Okay, now it's relaxing time, right? So don't worry. Also, you might feel weird tapping. That's okay. You can even say it. I feel weird tapping.
Yeah, own it.
This is a weird sensation. Yeah. So don't worry about whether you're doing it right or wrong. You can even swap your arms. So you can do it the other way. You can do both.
Yeah.
It's entirely up to you. It's a really great technique where you don't have to do it you can even just tap on one point if you want to, or if it feels comfortable. So I just want to let people know that there are different ways of tapping, but I would highly recommend doing the actual sequence for 2 to 3 minutes to get used to it. But for what I want to show people who are more familiar with EFT and want more of a guided tapping sequence, then we can do one with Caroline. So me and Caroline discussed a certain specific of what maybe people might want to explore. So we decided on sort of feeling comfortable within our own skin.
Yeah, self-confidence. It's been a bit of a theme today, hasn't it? And I feel like a lot of people will resonate with that, have similar experiences. So yeah.
Okay, so I'll just take you through a really simple tapping guided sequence, and you can follow along and repeat as well if you're watching. So Caroline, what I'd like you to do is I'd just like you to tap the side of your hand for me.
Yeah.
And I'd just like you to repeat after me, even though I'm struggling with my self-confidence. But in this moment, I choose to deeply and completely love and accept all of me in this moment. And then repeat again, even though at this moment I don't feel comfortable in my own skin. That's okay. I'm going to love and accept all of me anyway. And then one more time, even though I'm struggling with my self-confidence. That's okay. I acknowledge this. And I'm going to try to love and accept all of me in this moment. Okay, and then I want you to tap the top of your head for me and repeat the phrase, I'm struggling.
I'm struggling.
And then the eyebrow, with my self-confidence. And then side of the eye, I don't feel comfortable. Under the eye, in my own skin. Under the nose, I don't have any confidence. Chin, and that's okay. Collarbone, in this moment. Side of the rib, I'm going to love myself anyway. Top of the head, no self-confidence. Eyebrow, but I'm going to love myself anyway. Side of the head, maybe under the eye, I have no self-confidence. Under the nose, because something in me was protecting me.
Was protecting me.
And as a result, I have no self-confidence.
I have no self-confidence.
It may be
that
I struggle to stand up for myself. It may be that in the past, I stood up for myself. And then something happened. And then I had no self-confidence. I didn't stand up for myself again. So I just tap the top of your head for me. Even though I have no self-confidence, it was just my mind. And my body. Protecting me. But I no longer need that protection. I would like to have more self-confidence. So I give myself permission. To feel more comfortable in my own skin. I feel more confident. When I let go. When I forgive myself. Because I no longer need to be protected. Thank you, mind and body. For protecting me when I needed it. But I want self-confidence. I want to feel good in my own skin. I want to stand up for myself. Therefore, I no longer need that protection. That protection of keeping me stuck. In low self-confidence. I give myself permission. To be my confident self. I give myself permission. To feel good in my own skin. And I just want you to put your hand on your heart for me. And just whilst tapping, I just want you to say to yourself, I love you. I forgive you. I love you. I love you. Thank you. I forgive you. I love you. Okay, then what I want you to do is just take a deep breath in for me. Take a deep breath out. Another deep breath in. Another deep breath out. And one more time, deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Give yourself a shake. Shake that body.
Oh.
Just shake it all out. Take a sip of water if you need to.
Amazing.
And there we go.
Thank you, Naomi. That felt good. That felt really good. If you're watching on YouTube, we were like smiling, reflecting this kind of shifting energy at each other. And also, if you're listening just on the podcast without the video, every time that Naomi shifted the sentence, we were shifting the tapping point as we went through. So you can always look that up on the YouTube video and follow along with us again for that. I'll tell you what I loved about that, Naomi, is that it feels a really accessible, safe way to be with yourself and to be with your emotions. And sometimes I think that's what perhaps mindfulness or meditation can really put people off or not necessarily it's not an easy door to open. It's not an easy way to be with yourself. But with tapping, I feel like you can move, you can be doing something, you can be breathing, and it just feels like a nicer, kinder, easier place to start being with yourself as well.
100%, 100%. Because the thing is as well, is let's face it, anger is not an easy emotion to feel, right? Anxiety is a horrible emotion to feel. These emotions can be really hard to face. You know, we don't know what might happen. But the thing is about EFT is it starts moving these emotions into more of a subjective way. So, for example, you don't have to look for anxiety in the eye. You can look at it as it's just a yellow ball. It's a yellow spongy ball in my heart, right? Yeah. This anger is a fluttering butterfly in my leg, right? Yeah. So you don't have to see it as this really scary thing. You can see it as more of a subjective way. You can see it more as a shape, more as a texture, a color. And the more you've done that, the better it is, the better you feel, because you're just
got
like
more specific and like isolated. Yes. So what I'm hearing you saying is like, don't get confused or put off about seeing things as right or wrong. Like if images come to you, if colors come to you, that can be just part 100%. Of it, and roll with it.
Yeah, 100%. Really, really is. And I know quite a lot of people say, you know, why do we start with the negatives first? Why do we always start, why can't we go straight into the positives? Well, have you ever you know, met a friend and a friend is in a, you know, a bad place, or they're going through something, and you just say, oh, well, the easiest thing to do is just do this or be this, or, you know, but they're still in that mindset. They can't get out of it, and they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Yeah. So the reason why we start with almost like a negative sort of way in EFT is the fact that, one, you're addressing it. One, you are facing it, you know. So
and you're just so I get what you mean.
Yeah, of course.
It's like you're meeting yourself where you're at, where you are actually at.
Exactly. And the thing is as well, when you love and accept yourself where you are in that moment, you start to then see that you could change. Right? Because you're going to love and accept yourself anyway. This is the hardest thing to do, you know, because when we feel anxiety, when we feel anger, we start blaming ourselves. We start going, well, why am I feeling all this anger? This is, you know, I could just easily be happy, but why can't I be happy? You know, we start getting really angry with ourselves. We start blaming ourselves. We start feeling guilty. All these other emotions start coming up until we start facing the emotion and go, okay, anger, you're up here. I see you. Okay, I feel you. I get you. I see where you're coming from. And then we start to accept, which is a strange thing to, because you think accepting the anger, you think would be a bad thing, right? But when you accept the fact that you have these feelings and that you're going through it, it's okay. You're going to love yourself anyway. And it's such a powerful way of them being able to shift into a more positive.
Yeah. Whereas if you don't meet yourself where you're at, it's almost like you're forcing a change that you're not ready for. It's like pummeling at the door rather than knocking gently and, you know, meeting whoever and whatever is there. Yeah, exactly. I love that.
And there's always a reason. There's always a reason for you being angry. There's always a reason for you being anxious. Yeah. That's okay. That's okay, you know? And I think we need to start also reframing our negative emotions. And I just want to quickly, side note, tell you about this, is I have such a good relationship with my emotions now, is that when they do come up, I'm like, oh, okay, right, this is because of this. Or, you know, like when anxiety comes up now, I'm like, okay, it's either because I haven't slept enough or I haven't eaten enough, right? That's how good I am with my relationship with my emotions now because of EFT. It's so good. And the worst thing we can do is suppress and stuff our emotions, because that actually allows us to actually feel them more, which we don't want to do, which then suppresses it again. But if we just let it be in the open. Okay, I'm angry right now. I'm going to love and accept myself anyway. So it's such a great tool, really is.
Yeah. If you just shove it in the closet or shove it in the cave, roll the stone or the door over, I think those voices, all those sensations, that get louder and louder and louder. And just to reiterate, like, you know, you can do this by yourself. Tapping is something that you can do at home, but also please explore a practitioner or a mental health professional as well if, you know, that stuff feels really overwhelming for you.
Yeah, I would say if you're new to EFT and you are experiencing a lot of emotions, I would definitely hire a one-on-one practitioner. I wouldn't recommend doing it by yourself. Maybe when you get good enough to, maybe you can and start exploring it, but I really highly recommend hiring an EFT practitioner. Once again, I'm not a medical or doctor, and if you do need to seek a mental health expert or a doctor's advice, please do. But yes, and also please make sure you're keeping yourself safe. That's the main thing.
But amazing. Thank you so much for that practice, Naomi. I know I'm going to rewatch that and do it again. We're just going to shift into some kind of final questions for you, which I feel like I'm kind of know, but also I don't want to assume. So we are the plan means that, like, we have the magic within ourselves. Everything that we need is within us. So with all our guests, I would just like to kind of tap into that inner journey, and in a few words or a sentence or two, number one, could you tell us, if you could go back to your 18-year-old self, what is one piece of advice that you would give them?
Live your life. Don't let fear or any of those negative emotions, don't let them get the better of you. Don't let them hold you back. And things do get better. Things do get better.
Yeah. So true. Okay, two. What is the biggest tool, skill, practice, experience, etc., that has helped you change since your 18-year-old self? Is it tapping?
I wonder. Yeah, I was going to say, this is a really difficult question. EFT, 100%. It's the best tool out there. I've done other energy tools, but nothing compares to EFT. Just doesn't.
Yeah, give it a go. Absolutely open-minded. Bring to it. Okay, number three. What are some of your current favorite practices and habits for taking care of yourself?
Yeah, so physical exercise, 100%. And so physical would be exercise, mental, EFT, and meditation. I do a lot of meditation as well. Oh my goodness, amazing stuff. And for the soul, literally enjoy doing what you love doing. If it's baking, go and bake a cake. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing more of that now. And it's just do what lights you up, basically.
I can share a little one that I'm currently doing, because obviously it's autumn here in the UK, so the weather's really changed, and mine is curling up on the sofa with a really tactile blanket, like a fluffy soft blanket. That's a form of, I don't know, cocooning, rest, safety for me. And we had apples growing in the garden, so combine that with some stewed apples, fluffy blanket. That's one of my ways at the moment.
I love that so much. Yeah, it's really cold in the UK at the moment, but I love that. Yes,
literally have a blanket that I'm wearing now.
I love it.
Okay, two more for you, Naomi. What is making you feel inspired or lighting you up right now?
I know this is such a cliche, weird question, but everything is just such a learning curve. Something to learn from, something to grow from. So I'm just honestly, I think what I feel inspired by is the present moment. It's such a powerful way to live, being in the present moment, and I need to do more of that. So that's what's inspiring me.
And like, that's scary if you're not used to living in the moment, I think, as well. So it is a practice, but I completely feel you. It's almost like the joy in the ordinary moments.
Yes.
As they go by one by one. They're not spectacular, but you know, even when it's great and awful and perhaps you're not feeling great, I still find moment by moment there's a little bit of joy that you can notice in that.
Yeah. So that's what's that's what's inspiring me at the moment, just the present moment. And like you said, the little joys in life, honestly.
Okay, final one for you. What are you currently working on for yourself, or is there anything that you still feel like is a challenge for you?
Yeah, so I've been working around the theme of people pleasing, because that's something that I do quite a lot. But there was a great quote from someone who said, I can't remember it. Oh my God, it's just gone out of my head. It's people, you can people please, just make sure that you're not displeasing your own self by doing it.
Yeah.
Because
it's
I think
not saying yes to someone else.
Yes.
By betraying yourself.
Exactly. So of course you can people please, but make sure that it's not displeasing you as a result of that, which I thought was a really good advice. So yes, people pleasing is my theme. I'm also working around mantras at the moment. There's one particular one that I'm working on and exploring. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I feel like that could branch a whole nother conversation. So I'll have to get you back on and talk people pleasing and boundaries and all sorts of things like that in the future.
Yes, please do, Caroline. I love speaking to you all the time. So yes, that would be great.
And finally, where can listeners like find you online? How can they connect with you and maybe work with you or just learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm very active on Instagram and Facebook, and you can visit my Facebook page and my Instagram, which is at Naomi's EFT. And also I have a Facebook group called Unlimit Yourself to Success. And that's where you can find me the most. So yeah, it'd be lovely to see you all there.
Yeah, and I will make sure to link that in the show notes. So everything that we've just talked about, we'll get that in the show notes. You can click those links.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Naomi. It's been such a pleasure. Like literally, I've got my hands on my heart to be with you here today. And thank you. Thank you so much for joining me in today's episode. If you enjoyed it, then please subscribe and rate the podcast and share this episode with a friend to grow our circle. Plus, stay in touch with me by subscribing to my mailing list, where you'll get your free 7-day getting started plan, as well as weekly thoughts, updates, and chats. I love doing this with you and sharing the struggles, laughs, and wins along the way. So thank you so much for being here. And until next time, remember, we are the plan.